Hello, my beautiful exotical princess. Welcome to another episode of the Social Climbing Strategy series. If you are new to this channel was created for multiracial Black women or Black women who look mixed. If you have any questions about that, be sure to check out my What is an Exotical series here on YouTube. So, I want to talk about social climbing, and let's start off by looking up the definition of the term social status. Social status is a person's standing or importance in relation to other people within a society. So think about somebody who has a low social status. Usually, this is a person who has not done anything important, or maybe people from their group have not had a lot of accomplishments. And I'm not saying that to diss anyone, I'm saying that so that I can describe what social status is so that we in the Pretty Girl Club can work on attaining and maintaining our social status. So I'm going to start off by telling my personal story of how I went from invisible to becoming quote unquote popular. So popularity is a form of social status, and it is a form of social climbing. So I come from a very small town suburb. I come from one of the whitest states in America. My hometown in particular has one of the lowest populations of people of color, just in general. So going from that teeny tiny small town to this really big, huge college that I went to. I went to a really big college, and there were thousands of people there. So I grew up going to private schools. So my schools were always small. We would wear uniforms and stuff like that. So I didn't grow up having a lot of creative expression when it came to social climbing. So when I went to this really big school and I was in this new town, nobody knew who I was. So I had no status. I was a nobody. I was technically invisible. But the first thing that I did, and the Exoticals watching, you guys can use this to your advantage, was I used my multiracial and multicultural background to my advantage. And so the fact that there were a lot of other people at my college who were from these really big popular cities, I started emphasizing where I was from because that helped me to stand out amongst the crowd. I did the same thing with my ethnic background. A lot of people, they don't have the same ethnic background as me. So maybe you are biracial, maybe you are triracial. That's right. I am telling you to make your ethnicity a part of your personality traits because you are a beautiful woman of color. That is something to be proud of. Your blackness is something to be proud of. If you have indigenous ancestry, that's something to be proud of. If you have European ancestry, that's something you can be proud of. And so that was one of the main ways that I began my social climbing journey, was by making sure that it was apparent to everybody in my circle that, hey, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of where I come from. And, I love my family. I love my background. And I love the small town that I'm from. So when it came to me being from this small suburban town, people actually started asking me questions about where I was from and my background. So I became helpful to other people because I was kind of educating them. I became kind of like the go-to person if you had a question about that particular city, or if you had a question about that particular like ethnic background, because I was in more of a homogenous environment. So I went to an HBCU. So the majority of the students were monoracial, unambiguous African American people. And so for me, I had the benefit of not only coming from a totally different part of the country and a totally different cultural background, not only was my phenotype also different, but it caused people to gain interest in me. And so I've talked in a lot of other videos about using fashion to your advantage, using beauty to your advantage, using your ethnic background to your advantage, and paying homage to the people that came together to create you. There is nothing wrong with loving where you come from. Anybody who says that that's a superiority complex, loving your family, that person probably comes from a horrible family. They most likely come from a very traumatic type of background. And so they're probably struggling with self-hate. And so when they see somebody who loves themselves, they automatically tie it to, oh, you only love yourself because you think you're better. And remember, whenever somebody says you think you're better, it's actually because they think you're better. Because whenever you ask them, like, hey, can you give me examples of how I think I'm better? Notice how they can never give you examples. So ignore the haters. That's step one. But another thing that I did that really helped me to social climb was flexing my natural beauty. So you guys know that I love wigs and weaves and like makeup and nail polish, just any sort of beauty enhancement. I am a fan. But one of my fluid identity strategies is to incorporate my natural phenotype in there. So I was the girl that was like wearing my natural little curly ponytail or whatever. It didn't matter how long or short it was, even if it was a little bit damaged or I needed a little bit of work. I wasn't like, I didn't allow that to hold me back because I still wanted to show off the way that my hair grows out of my head, or the way that I look. Basically, that is actually a sign of confidence. And so when you are the type of person who comes off as someone who's confident, number one, you are setting boundaries, because remember, people are only going to come towards you and like try to bully you if they see you as an easy target. I will say people will try to bully you if they view you as being on a high pedestal, but remember, if that person puts you on a pedestal, your insults are going to be way more powerful than theirs anyway, because it's more hurtful coming from the pretty girl, right? And by the way, I'm not saying that to be rude towards anyone. If you do not feel like you're pretty, or if you don't want to be pretty, this channel really wouldn't be for you. You'll probably be offended if you're not a part of my core audience. That was one of the ways that I was doing my social climbing journey. It was by embracing my actual background, embracing my natural phenotype, and using that to stand out. And so when it comes to the whole phenotype thing, so the way that I would wear my hair, like I didn't follow the trends and stuff. So I wore my hair exactly how I liked it, even if nobody else wore their hair the same way. So I used to do kind of like this slick back thing. I don't know how to describe it, but like, okay, so you know the Jerry curl? So my hair kind of looks like that, but I would just slick it straight back because I liked how it looked on me. I just feel like I have a nice head shape. I don't know I don't know how to describe it. But people started being able to pinpoint me, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, the girl that has like this slick back hairstyle," or "Yeah, the girl that she always wears different headbands, or she always wears her hair up, the girl that always kind of has her makeup done." Basically, I started to have almost like this signature look. And that was a form of social climbing, because I was separating myself from the crowd. I wasn't trying to fit in. I wasn't looking for social acceptance. I was embracing my unique identity. And so this is why I will always be a proponent of making any uniqueness that you have, making that a part of your identity and being proud of that, and not allowing others to shame you out of that. Because the only people that will shame you out of embracing who you are as a woman of color are racist people and people who are ashamed of who they are. And so they want you to feel the same shame as them. So that is one of the social climbing strategies you can use as an exotical, is embracing your background, embracing your natural phenotype, and also flexing your natural phenotype every now and again. Even if you're like me and you like kind of the glamorous look, still, just every once in a while, still flexing that natural beauty that you have. Another social climbing strategy that exoticals can use is using multiculturalism to your advantage. It's funny because somebody, I don't remember if it was a troll or what, but I heard that somebody said that if you are mixed race, that like you can't partake in Black culture or speak on Black culture. Yes, I can actually. Black culture is my culture. I'm multicultural, so Black culture is my culture, white culture is my culture, Mexican culture is my culture. Do you have a problem with multicultural people? That's the question I would ask. Anybody that says you can't embrace a certain culture, that person themselves is monocultural. So being monocultural means that you've only grown up around the same types of people with the same types of mindsets, and you also have the same types of limitations. Because remember, there's no such thing as a perfect culture. There's no such thing as a perfect ethnicity. I don't care if you're Black, white, Asian, your culture is not perfect. Your culture has flaws. I don't care what color you are. And so being monocultural is never going to set you up for the multicultural world that we live in. You're always going to be falling behind. So that's another social climbing strategy, is to not allow people to shame you out of enjoying another side of your culture, or enjoying a culture that's not even your own. I mean, that's like saying that if you're Black, you can't eat pasta because you're not Italian. It's like, no, I can pay respect to whatever culture I want to. I can engage in and partake in whatever culture I want to. In fact, you should do that. I mean, that's a part of living in an integrated society. That's a good thing. Like, I'm not going to segregate myself based on the color of my skin or my racial background. That is a very outdated mindset. And so, another social climbing strategy that we can use is utilizing our multicultural backgrounds to our advantage. So if you have like a Latin American background, for example, definitely learn the language of your ancestors, learn the dialect. I know there are different dialects of Spanish, but learn the language of your ancestors, because that's another way that you can stand out. Because when I think about the concept of social climbing, I'm thinking of socioeconomic status. So for those of you who are dating or you want to make friends that have like a very high socioeconomic status, you want to have a friend group full of classy, cultured, elegant women, learning a second language is one of the ways that you can do that, because it is a sign of being educated, it's a sign of intelligence, and it's also a sign that you respect other cultures, or that you respect that part of your background, or you love that part of your background enough to want to be able to communicate with people from that country. So that's a beautiful thing. The more countries you have on your DNA test, for those of you who did the DNA test, the more countries you have, the more languages you can learn and explore. I know that one of my bucket list things is I want to be able to travel to every single country that is on my DNA results, and I also want to be able to speak every language that is like on my DNA results as far as the countries. That is such a beautiful thing, and that is definitely a way that you can stand out, because I know for me, I'm not even my Spanish is not good. Like, I don't consider my Spanish to be that good, but apparently to other people, they think that it's pretty good because they have asked me before to help them with certain things, or they've asked me like what a certain word means, and that is actually a form of social status, because remember, social status is a person's standing or importance in relation to other people. So you are important if you guys are going on your girls trip to Mexico because maybe your Spanish is the best. That is going to grant you higher social status in your friend group because your friends value the fact that you speak another language. Another form of status that I talk about all the time is beauty. Beauty is social power. Social power is beauty. Beauty is visibility. Visibility is beauty. So if you feel like you don't stand out in terms of beauty, there are plenty of different ways that you can increase your visibility so that you can be perceived as more beautiful. I actually think that beauty has more to do with psychology than it does with, a person's physical features. I do not believe in anybody being born inherently superior to somebody else in terms of beauty. I don't believe that, because beauty is so subjective. Beauty trends change. No two people have the exact same standard of beauty. Some people like a tall girl, some people like short girls. You can be beautiful with blonde hair, with black hair, with an afro. So never get too fixated on one type of beauty. And one of the social climbing strategies that I've used is always having an abundance mindset when it comes to something like beauty. I don't believe that beauty is unattainable. I don't believe that beauty is something that I can't ever have. I've noticed that the women who think that they're ugly or average, they tend to have a scarcity mindset around beauty. They think that beauty means one particular thing. It's only one skin tone, one hair texture, one body type, and I don't have it, therefore I don't have beauty. I don't believe that at all. I have an abundance mindset when it comes to beauty. I believe that there are so many different ways to be beautiful. If you're more interested in my talking points around the psychology of building your own beauty pedestal, please check out my series on that. But that was one of the ways that I was able to social climb when I was in college. So in order to get out of being kind of invisible, like, the freshman that nobody really knows, I decided to make myself more visible, which would increase my perceived beauty. Because the thing about beauty is there's always somebody that looks like you, right? There's always somebody with your exact skin tone. Maybe they have the same body type as you. Maybe they have the same hair color, same hair texture, eye color, whatever. And so if you're just one of the many women walking around, just one of the pretty faces in the crowd, I didn't want to be that when I was in college. So I decided to make my beauty as visible as possible. So the way that I did this was, number one, I gained makeup skills, and I got so good at makeup to the point where other girls who lived in my dorm building, they started asking me to do their makeup. And I ended up doing the same thing with hairstyling, because remember, I was wearing my natural hair. And other girls, they would, well, besides the girls that were hating on me, that tried to put things like Nair and Relaxer in my shampoo, I have a story time about that. But the girls who were not haters, they would ask me to do their hair. And increasing my visibility and increasing my beauty hobbies, hair and makeup, that caused me to get opportunities to make money and to be more visible like on campus. So I've told you guys the story before about how I got to do makeup for a pageant before because people had seen me around campus and they were like, oh, her makeup is always slayed and she always has her hair slicked back. So she has kind of like this model look where it's just this beat face and then like her hair is just back. And so I started to become known as kind of the hair and makeup girl. So I didn't rely on just me being another pretty face in the crowd. I went out of my way to make myself more visible via my beauty hobbies. It caused me to stand out. And then fashion was another way that I increased my social status because fashion was another form of beauty hobbies. You guys know that I love to express myself with fashion. And back when I was in college, I used to love doing thrifting and stuff like that. So I would go to a thrift store and I would get, a whole bunch of button up shirts. I would wear all of these really cute little different looking outfits. So sometimes I would wear like suspenders or like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of the most random stuff that I would wear. Kind of like maybe Gossip Girl, that sort of fashion sense, like these little suits that are like pink that I got from the thrift store. And then maybe I would try to tailor them. I would try to like cut up certain pieces or, I would just put things together and people would think that it was really cute. So that was a form of social climbing because when it came to the fashionistas on campus, they started noticing me. And then I got to do not just the fashion shows, but also like fashion styling and stuff. So people started asking me, hey, can you bring some of your clothing pieces and do some styling for this show that we've got going on? And so that's a form of social status. I was being helpful. Remember, social status is directly tied to how many people you help. And so if you view yourself as a perpetual victim, you're not going to want to help other people because you're going to be too busy tearing other people down. You'll be tearing down another woman's beauty or, talking shit about someone. So for me, once I moved to this new big city, I knew I can't just rely on being a pretty face in the crowd just waiting to get picked because that's really not how life works. I mean, yes, you can have pretty privilege, but I like to privilege stack. For those of you who want to know about the privilege stacking stuff that I talk about on this channel, make sure you check out those videos. But I like to stack all of my skills on top of each other and then use that to increase my visibility. So at this point, I was helping girls in my dorm with their makeup, helping girls in the dorm with their hair, helping people when it came to styling, so like event coordinators and stuff, doing pageant makeup on girls. And before I knew it, I had joined dozens of different clubs and like organizations on my school campus. So for those of you who are in college, or if you're in high school too, you know that they have different clubs. They have like the Japanese Culture Club, the African American Students Association. So before I knew it, I was becoming so helpful to those around me to the point where everybody wanted me to be in their club. They wanted me to help them shoot video for an event. I remember doing like photography, videography, writing. I remember writing for like the school newspaper. Okay, so this is back when school newspapers were a thing. So I went to college a while ago. But yeah, I used to do like writing for the little newspaper thing and social media management, just random stuff like that. And that was because I was stacking all of my different skills on top of each other to the point where people couldn't help but recognize my talents. And so that's one of the main things that I feel like Exoticals are actually very good at. We're actually very good at leading with our talent. A lot of people think that we lead with our looks and stuff. And yeah, those things may help. Like pretty privilege is definitely a thing. But I feel like sometimes when you are seen as the pretty girl, people naturally underestimate you, or they feel like you only got to where you are because you're pretty, or they assume that you like slept with people and stuff. And so I didn't want that when I was in college. I came to school so that I could work hard. I told you guys about how I was working 35 hours a week and I was also going to school full time. So I'd wake up, this is when I worked at the coffee shop. So I would wake up around 4:30 a.m. I would go to work from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then I would have college classes from about 12 noon to around 6 p.m. And then I would have my hobbies, whether it was like fashion show stuff, event coordinating stuff, or like doing makeup stuff, I would do all of that stuff in the evening time. And that's a form of social climbing because I was being productive with my time. And it wasn't even about like just trying to get money or whatever. It was more so about me really gaining experience and kind of exploring my own hobbies and just seeing how far I could take it. And when it comes to exploring your own hobbies, that's very important because this YouTube channel actually started off as a hobby. So the story about how I started this channel is I was actually in the process of I was going to write a book. So outside of this, like before YouTube, I've done writing and stuff before. So I was planning on writing a book, like one of those romance erotica books. I had never done it before, but I was experiencing writer's block, and I just needed to get kind of my creative juices flowing. And I was like, why don't I try to do some sort of creative activity that I haven't done in a long time? And one thing I hadn't done in a long time was videos, like video editing, because when it comes to making videos, when I first started, I was doing scripting. I was doing like, the B-roll or like the clips that you see, the images that you see. And then I was doing like the titles, the tags, the thumbnails, whatever. So I was like, okay, YouTube is a good way to utilize a whole bunch of different skills. And so I came up with this channel idea. I was like, it's between this channel or a channel where you do like nail art. You know those channels with the fake hand, like a mannequin hand, and then you paint on the hand? Yeah, it was between this channel or that channel. And I was like, let me just do this YouTube thing to get over this writer's block. And this YouTube channel, which started off as just a hobby, it started off as me just exploring my passions and just trying to get my creative juices flowing. This turned into a whole entire full-fledged business to where I have now quit my accounting job just to do this. And that, my pretty exotical princess, is social climbing. And that's the way to do it in the natural feminine way. So you know how people talk about manifestation and attracting what you want. I don't consider myself spiritual, but I feel like some things are best described using spiritual terminology. So the way that I manifested this YouTube success, I guess if you want to call it success, I mean, it's a small channel, but you know what I mean. The way that I manifested this was by just being in my feminine energy. So just being in that creative energy, kind of like free flowing and stuff. I was purely doing this YouTube for fun. I still am doing this YouTube for fun. It is still fun. If it ever becomes not fun, I won't do it. Like you'll never see me on here if it ever becomes not fun, because my whole purpose is I want to live the soft life. I talk a lot about the soft life and how I feel like the soft life is really about your mindset. And so the reason I talk about social climbing on here, it's not so I can try to dominate others or like be mean to other girls. It's literally so that I can live a softer life. So even though when I told my college story, it sounded really busy and overwhelming, like, oh my God, you're doing barista coffee making and stuff in the morning, then you're going to school, then you're like doing this fashion stuff and you're doing makeup and hair and all this. It sounds overwhelming, but to me, that was the soft life because I was living my dream. I was at my dream college. I'm not kidding. I genuinely wanted to be a barista at that time. I was about 18 years old. So that was one of my dreams at the time, was like, oh, I want to be able to make tips. And then I was like, ooh, I get to be in school. And then I was like, wow, you can do people's makeup and like, get paid and get opportunities off of that. So it really was the soft life for me. And social climbing was my way of getting there. It was by not sitting on the sidelines of my own life and just going out and just being in my feminine and just doing whatever I wanted to do. So, whether that was embracing my natural phenotype as a means of standing out, embracing my multicultural background, doing my hair different than everybody else. I still kind of do my hair different than other people because I've noticed that people, they really like the baby hairs. I still have not gotten into baby hairs, and I have baby hairs, like natural baby hairs, but I'm just not into it because for me, if I'm doing the exact same thing as others and almost like copying their exact hairstyle and stuff, it just doesn't make me feel as authentic. But when it comes to social climbing, those were some of the things that I was doing. And I was doing those things because I just wanted to explore. I wanted to gain experience and stuff. And one of the ways that you can actually figure out what you want, I actually started studying psychology stuff when I was a teenager. So I've always been interested in psychology, and I've always been just kind of passionate about it. So when I was a kid, like in high school, I used to be at home. So remember like the AOL, remember the computers that used to have the dial up where it's like, eek, yeah, those computers. So I used to get on the computer in my parents' house and I used to look up like personality tests and like the different personality types. And so that was actually how I got started on my path to creating my own social climbing strategy. It was knowing my personality type. Number one, it was getting to know myself and like who I am. For those of you who are into personality types, I'm an ENTJ, or in terms of the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 2. So the Enneagram wasn't out when I was a teenager, but I knew I was an ENTJ. And so I kind of like, I kept taking the test over and over, trying to see like, am I going to get different results? But no, I'm an ENTJ through and through. I keep taking it again because I'm like, what if my personality changed? No, it's still the exact same. Typical ENTJ charismatic a-hole. No, I'm kidding. But that is a social climbing strategy that you can use if you are kind of confused and you're like, I don't know where to begin. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what my passions are. Well, you can start off by getting to know yourself. For those of you who are not into psychology and personality tests, maybe you're into the signs like Scorpio. That's my sign, by the way. I don't know anything about the signs, but I'm a Scorpio. But maybe you're into the signs. Maybe you're into like, I don't know, like numbers and stuff like that. You know how they have like numerology and all that. So finding some method to get to know yourself and to get to know your unique personality traits, that's going to help you to come up with your own custom social climbing strategy. Because my strategy for how I became kind of successful and kind of popular, I guess, when I was in college, and how I started making money and like getting all these job opportunities, it was just because I was exploring myself. And I've learned over the years that self exploration is always going to be a fundamental part of social climbing. So, another way that you can actually social climb, this is something that I use to this day. So, for those who are not in college, um, one thing that I like to do is I am always exploring new hobbies. And I'm an extrovert, so I like to be around people. I can't just be in the house 24/7. I can't do it because it's like at that point, what's the difference between my apartment and a prison cell? Like, seriously, I never go out. I'm trapped inside this building. I'm trapped inside my cell. The apartment is even called a unit number. So it's like, okay, I'm trapped inside this unit number. I can't go out unless I get summoned or invited by somebody else to go out. So it's like, it makes me feel like I'm in a prison cell if I just sit in my apartment. But for some of you, you like to be alone all the time, and that's okay too. I'm not shaming you at all. One of my social climbing strategies that I use to this day is I get out of the house every single day because I know that that's going to help me to just socialize and stay kind of excited. And when I think about social status and having importance in the eyes of others, I'm not necessarily thinking about it like, oh, I'm a dictator. No, I'm thinking about it as, okay, being important means that I am somebody's friend. Like, that's kind of how I think of social climbing. It means making friends. For some of you guys, it might mean dating. For others, it might mean social climbing in your job. Maybe you want to have a better career. Maybe you want to network. You want to get to know people who have really good business ideas. All of those things that I just named, those are all a part of my social climbing routine. So I'm just going to tell you some of my social climbing routine stuff that I have done over maybe the last year. So, one of them is exploring new hobbies or trying new things. So, I used to roller skate when I was younger, but I'm not good at it. Like, I am not good. So, you know, Roll Bounce, that movie? Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm the exact opposite of that. But that was a new hobby that I wanted to explore. So, me and my friends, we went to this skating rink. I've gone to a skating rink like with my family before. I've gone like on dates before. By the way, if you are dating, like depending on where you are on the decentering men spectrum, I cover the entire decentering men spectrum on this channel. So I don't judge you. I don't care where you're at, whether you're 4B or dating. That's one way that you can actually social climb and kind of explore your hobbies is via dating. Like if a guy asks you on a date and you've always wanted to explore roller skating, maybe you've never learned how to rollerblade, you can just let that guy know, oh yeah, I've always wanted to go rollerblading. I've always wanted to try skating like on the boardwalk next to the beach. I've always wanted to try beach volleyball. Because doing these different hobbies and stuff, that actually helps you to understand yourself better, and you can utilize your hobbies and passions to make yourself stand out. And then people will be like, oh yeah, that's Tiffany. She is the beach volleyball player. Yeah, she's really good. She joined that volleyball group and like everybody likes her. So that's one thing that I want you to ask yourself right now. It's, what kind of hobbies have I always wanted to try? And if you still don't have an answer, then you can ask yourself this. The most leveled up version of myself, what is she like? What does she do on a daily basis? Does she have friends? Does she have, I don't know, a boyfriend? Does she have a family? Is she close to her sisters or her cousins? And if so, how did she get there? What kind of hobbies does she have? So, for me personally, though, so one of the hobbies I tried was social climbing. So, I did actually cultivate some good friendships. So I met this one girl. She is very good at roller skating. She is like roll bounce level. So she said she's going to teach me how to skate. That's a form of social climbing because number one, I made a friend. Number two, I cultivated a hobby that made me more interesting. Well, I'm still not good at that hobby, but it's okay though. You don't have to be everything to everybody. I've noticed that people, they like to shame you. People who feel like they're socially beneath you, they try to shame you and say like, oh, well, you're not that cute. Well, you're not even that good at that hobby. You're not even that smart. You go to college online. And it's like, okay, so what? You don't have to go to Harvard to be educated. You don't have to be an expert at something in order to make it a part of your identity. So it's like, if you are educated, I don't care if you went to community college, I don't care if you just did a certificate, you are still educated. You educated yourself. You put in effort. Usually it's the people who don't put in any effort who are mad when you do. But anyway, so roller skating was one of the hobbies that I tried, and it made me feel like when I was roller skating, even though I was bad at it, I still felt so beautiful. By the way, roller skating burns about 600 calories per hour. So that's another side effect, like just so you guys know if you're thinking about it. But another thing that I have added into my social climbing routine was learning how to longboard. So I'm not that good at it. I'm still learning how to do it, but learning how to longboard, that's another activity that I did with somebody else, you know? So it's like every hobby you do, depending on if you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can do that hobby with somebody else. You can do it just by yourself. I remember when I was trying to learn how to roller skate, I was skating out on the sidewalk and I literally fell. But this one girl, she came and tried to help me up. She was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you need help? But, and even though it might sound like, oh, that's embarrassing, that sucks, well, that's how people make friends, though. That's how they socialize. If you're afraid of making social mistakes, that's actually called social anxiety. So you're going to have to overcome your social anxiety if you want to social climb. Social climb is about having the social life of your dreams. It's about having the social status of your dreams, whatever status means to you. So to me, status means I'm increasing my socioeconomic status. So it means I'm gaining wealth. I'm getting my exotical tax. Social status to me also means I am working in a field that I love. So I'm doing what I love and I'm getting paid off of it. So doing this YouTube channel, I have fun talking about this. I love talking shit on YouTube. I like talking about the soft life and social climbing and encouraging women of color. I love like making friends on here. Oh, by the way, be sure to tune in to the live streams that I'm going to be doing on this channel. But I like making friends on the internet. I love having a Discord and stuff. So that's a part of my goals for my social life. I want to do what I love for a living and have friends in real life and have friends on the internet where it's like we don't even know who the other person is, but we get to open up more because we're anonymous. So that was a part of my social climbing strategy. That was one of the things that I wanted. For some of you, maybe it's you want marriage or you want kids one day, or maybe you want to have a better relationship with your younger sisters, or I don't know, you have like a sibling that you haven't talked to in a while. You want to talk to her. Maybe you want to be a part of this community and make friends. By the way, be sure to join the Patreon because we have a whole Discord. You'll be added to a Discord. The Patreon's only $5 a month. And it's really created so that you guys can also have a community in there. So the girls in the Patreon and in the Discord, they open up about mental health. We've got a whole dating discussion thing in there. We've got like sex talk in there and stuff. We've got all kinds of things in there. So be sure to check that out. But the concept of social climbing is about it. I kind of see it like a pyramid. Social climbing is my way to get the soft life. It's my way to live the soft life. For me personally, I am kind of like, I can be a relationship oriented person. So I care about my relationships. I care about my family. I care about friendships and stuff because it's more fun for me if I have people that I love that I get to share my excitement with. Like, I'm excited that there are other YouTubers that are talking about social climbing and pretty girl stuff. And, I call it the pretty girl niche. But I get excited about that because I like to enjoy stuff with other people. So that's another thing you want to ask yourself too is, what kind of social life do I see myself having? Am I the type of girl that likes to go to a coffee shop and hang out with girlfriends? Am I more of a happy hour type of girly? Do I like to hang out with my girls and play pool or something? Am I a fitness girl? Because I know for me personally, um, my type is I like having friends where we can go on hikes together, we can go boating together, we can do like runs together, go on walks. That is one of my social life goals. That's one of my social climbing strategies. It was for this year, one of my strategies was making friends that like fitness. That was one of my social climbing goals. It was literally to meet girls that are also into fitness. And I'm so glad I did because I get to go to Pilates classes with my friends. I've gotten to go to like yoga class, just random stuff like Pilates, yoga, random hikes, going boating. For those of you who are into like boating and canoeing and like river rafting or floating and stuff, I have been able to do that stuff because I specifically made it my goal. I think that a lot of times when people think of social climbing, they're only thinking of attaining fame or being a celebrity or something. And that can be a part of it. So if that's something you want, you can kind of create a plan for yourself and kind of think about it like, how do I want to be a celebrity? Do I want to be a singer? Do I want to be an actress, an influencer? What do I want to do? But one of my social climbing strategies, though, was making friends that have the same interests as me. So I specifically started going to all of these different fitness groups in my city so that I could make friends that were into yoga and into Pilates and stuff. So one of the ways you can do that is just look online. You can sign up for Eventbrite and like follow it, or if they have different groups like yoga groups or like nonprofits and stuff, you can choose to follow them, or you could even look on Instagram. So let's say you live in like Chicago, you can type into Instagram Chicago yoga and then start following all these different yoga studios. And sometimes the yoga studios will have like free events where it's at a park or something like that. So that's how I started finding out about different fitness events, as far as social climbing goes for me, like making friends and stuff. So I started following all these different coffee shops because that's another one of my hobbies, by the way, is going to coffee shops. Please comment down below if you are a coffee shop queen because I am obsessed with going to all these different high-end cafes and like seeing what lattes they have, like the fancy lattes, like the rose latte, lavender latte, the CBD lattes, black licorice, the chai, the golden latte. Okay, sorry, I'm done. Um, But I want you to think about this because social climbing should be exciting. It should be something where you are just kind of attracting the social life that you want. You're kind of naturally attracting the social status that you want. Like the type of social status that I want is I want to be known as a girl's girl. I want to be known as the friend or like the fun friend, the friend that you can like hang out with and stuff, the friend that's always down to work out. I want to be known as the level up friend. So when I'm talking about social climbing, that's what I mean. Like, what do you want to be known as? Do you want to have a friend group? Because that was one of my dreams. Like, I know it sounds crazy. Like, in my 30s, I didn't even know it was possible to have a friend group, but I made that one of my goals. I was like, okay, I want to have a group of friends, just like how I did when I was in middle school and high school and college. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to try. And the way that I was able to achieve that social climbing goal was by going to group activities. So I went to all kinds of women's group activities. I remember there was this book club in my city that I looked into. And by the way, I found out about that book club because I was following my favorite coffee shop on Instagram. And so that coffee shop, they announced on there, they were like, oh, we have a book club that meets up on Tuesdays. And then we have like Pilates class and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. So Instagram and social media, like Facebook groups and stuff, well, I don't use Facebook anymore, but one of my friends, she found out about certain events and stuff by using Facebook groups. So that's one of the social climbing strategies you can use, whether you want to make friends, whether you're trying to, I don't know, meet a sugar daddy or something, or a bae, boo thing. I don't know what you're trying to do, but whatever your goal is, maybe you're a single mom. A lot of people don't talk about social climbing strategies for single moms, but don't worry, I've already got an episode recorded. That's coming up soon. Um, I can't guarantee that it's going to be a good episode because I don't have any kids. But no, maybe you're a single mom and you want to find activities to do with your child. Maybe you're a dog mom. Maybe you have a dog or something and you want to find activities to do with your dog. You can make that a part of your social climbing goals. Like, okay, how do I want to social climb with my dog? I want to wear a matching outfit with my dog. I want to have a sparkly leash for my dog that lights up so that we can go to the dog park at night. What you want to do is think about your most ideal social life, and then you can start to schedule it out for yourself. So, one thing I did was I would say to myself, okay, at least like 2 times a week, I am going to socialize with friends, like on purpose. So instead of just getting out of the house, because I get out of the house every day, and the way that I do that is going on walks and hikes and biking, whatever. But that's not necessarily socializing because sometimes I do those things by myself. But for my social climbing goals with like making friends, I was like, okay, at least 1 to 2 times a week, I want to go to some sort of group fitness event or some sort of gym. You know how they have classes in the gym? Like they have Zumba class and cycling class. They have like spin class. So that was one of the things that I did. That was a strategy that I used. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to spin class twice a week and I'm going to like make friends and that's going to help me to have the type of social life that I want to have. Because when it comes to social climbing, there's really no one to blame but yourself. So when people say, oh, I feel like I'm at the bottom or I feel like my group is at the bottom because a lot of us we're not famous or we're not celebrities or whatever. It's like, okay, do you want to be a celebrity? Because it sounds like you do. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a celebrity. So, is there a way that you can begin being the change that you want to see? And maybe, I don't know, go into influencing? I feel like that's kind of an easier way to become a celebrity without having to deal with like record labels and stuff. So, it's like, can you start uploading singing videos online or can you like do some different challenges on TikTok or something, and maybe that will make you feel more visible. Another question you want to ask yourself when it comes to social climbing is, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel when it comes to my social life? Because you know how sometimes if you're the pretty girl, people try to exclude you and they try to like be mean to you so you feel like the outsider in the group. So that's not how I want to feel when it comes to my goals for my social life. I want to feel like I am a part of the group. I want to feel a sense of sisterhood. I want to feel loved. I want to feel valued when it comes to my friendships. I want to feel like my friends care about me, or if you want to date or something, or you want to restore your relationships with your family, maybe you want to feel cherished. You want to feel like your presence is valued. So that's a good question to ask yourself, like, how do I want to feel socially? Do I want to feel like I'm the queen bee? For some of you guys, you like the queen bee energy. You like to feel like, you get to decide what bar we're going to, or you get to decide what we're doing this weekend, or friends are texting you saying, hey, what are you doing? Can I go with you? So maybe you want to feel like that. And by the way, none of these things are wrong. But one of the strategies that I also used was I started utilizing Pinterest. So I know it sounds really random, but when it comes to Pinterest, they are really good at creating visual lists. So I started saving all of these different bucket lists from Pinterest. So they have like spring bucket list, fall bucket list, and then it lists all these different things to do in the spring, different things to do in the fall, or like road trip bucket list. So okay, this is so random, but one of my road trip bucket lists, I really want to go to Roswell. So Roswell, where they said like the UFOs were and stuff, like the aliens. I know I'm crazy, but but I've always wanted to go there. That's one of my social climbing goals, is to be able to go, not by myself, to be able to go with somebody to Roswell, or to like go on these fun road trips. So for some of you guys, I want you to ask yourself this question: what types of activities do I want to enjoy? What types of social activities do I want to enjoy? What social activities do I like? Do I like paint and sip? Do I like yoga classes? Do I like road trips? Do I like hanging out with friends and going to Mexican food trucks? Because that was one of my hobbies. In my 20s, me and my friends, so one of my friends, she used to live in Mexico. And actually, no, two of my friends used to live in Mexico. So our hobby was literally we had no money. We didn't have money to like go to the actual restaurants, like the nice restaurants or anything. But one thing we would do is in the summertime, we would just go to the different like lower income areas where they had the food trucks that we could afford to eat at. And we would just go and get like the Coca-Cola and like all the different Mexican food and stuff. So that was one of my hobbies. That was one of my social climbing strategies was I want to have friends to go with to these cultural experiences. So that's another strategy you can use though is Pinterest. Like if you're looking for ideas on things to do, because like I feel like I'm not that great at thinking of all these different ideas, but once I got onto Pinterest or Instagram and stuff, you know how they have those Instagram pages where it's like things to do in New York, things to do in Chicago, things to do in Atlanta. I started following those pages, but for my city, or the pages where it's like, oh, the best restaurants in Los Angeles, best restaurants in Cleveland. I started following those Instagrams, and that helped me to kind of get more excited and inspired when it came to my goals for like social climbing and for my social life. Also, one super random thing. Okay, so I've noticed that I like old people hobbies. So going to bingo nights, like I'm not kidding. I literally like, so I've done like going bowling, or you know how they have random bingo nights or like salsa nights or karaoke and stuff. So that's a strategy you can use is following pages on Instagram with events or going on Pinterest and starting to curate a list for yourself, because it's almost like making a little vision board for yourself and kind of like getting your mind thinking about that and getting your mind excited about all of these social opportunities you're going to have. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be for friendships. So like I said, when I was in college, I wanted my social activities to revolve more around finding some sort of jobs or finding streams of income for myself. So whether it was being a barista or doing makeup or doing hair, painting people's nails, no matter what it was, that was my goal socially, was I wanted to socialize with people that could give me opportunities, whether it was for money or it could have been straight up for clout. Like, oh, I'm going to I'm going to let you come in the VIP section or whatever because you helped to plan this event, or you helped us, you supplied us with clothing for this event, so now you get to go backstage at the fashion show. So you get to think of that for yourself. I want you to ask yourself, who do I want to socialize with? What social circle do I want to have? Who do I want to be surrounded by? Do I want to be surrounded by Dusties? Do I want to be surrounded by jealous basic Bettys? Or do I want to be surrounded by classy people? Oh my God, I got so excited today. This is random, but I got so excited today because I went to another high-end coffee shop, because that's one of my hobbies, and I saw two Exoticals there. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God. And so that was really cool because I was thinking, wow, every time I go to like a classy spot, I always see other Exoticals there. So that makes me feel very good about myself. But you should ask yourself, what types of social settings do I want to be in? Do I want to be at the classy bars? Do I want to be at a speakeasy? Do I want to make girlfriends? Do I want to have a friend group? Or do I want to get rid of my friend group that I have right now and get a new one? By the way, one of the ways that I made friends was I did Bumble BFF. But I went on there with a purpose though. I was like, okay, I want to go on Bumble BFF so that I can find a friend to go with to bars. Because at that time, that was my social climbing strategy. I wanted to go to the high end bars. You know how you want to like go with your friend and get into places for free, or like, just get people to get you some food or whatever. So that was my goal. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of girls, they don't meet their social climbing goals because they never set them. They never created goals for themselves. They're just roaming through life. They're watching everybody else live these fun lives. You know how people get mad when they see you having fun on Instagram and stuff, or they get mad because they're like, oh, everybody's going on vacation and stuff. And it's like, well, they planned that vacation probably, or they put themselves out there so that they could meet people to go on the vacation with, or I don't know, found a guy to pay for that vacation or something. So when it comes to social climbing, the way that I view it is I am responsible for my social life. So if I feel bored, or I mean, so if I feel lonely, it's not that I'm lonely. It's probably that I'm bored. I didn't do shit. Of course I'm going to feel lonely if I just sit inside and don't go anywhere. And if my apartment becomes a prison cell, well, yes, if you are sitting in a solitary confinement, aka your apartment, you don't have human interaction, you just eat and stay in your cell, aka your bedroom or your apartment unit number, then yeah, of course you're going to feel bored and lonely, because that's how people feel in prison when they're trapped inside of this one, they're trapped inside of these four walls. So it's like going outside. You have to go outside, basically. And another thing, too, when it comes to social climbing, another thing is it's never as awkward as you think it's going to be, because I used to have that mindset, too. Like when I first moved out of my hometown, when I was about 19 years old, 18, I was like, oh crap, like, is it going to feel awkward? Like going to these random networking events and stuff. But no, I just went and I just enjoyed it. And that was how I was able to have the social life of my dreams. Because think about it, when people talk about pretty privilege or when they talk about dating and stuff, oftentimes they want the pretty privilege or they want the dates because that's your social life. That's increasing your social life. Having a guy take you on a yacht, that is a fun way to socialize. Let's be honest. It is fun to be taken on a yacht for free, or to go to a vineyard and do wine tasting and stuff, and to have like all these vacation places that you're going to. That is fun. So oftentimes people are seeking pretty privilege, or they're seeking to be chosen for dates, or they are seeking friendships because they want the social life that comes along with it. They want the lifestyle, they want the soft life that comes along with that social status. And so remember, the social climbing part is you're trying to get the social life that you have always wanted, whatever that means for you. So it's funny because your social climbing goals can change as well. So when I was going through a phase of embracing my Latin American side more, I specifically wanted to have Mexican friends. I specifically, like, that was one of my social climbing goals, was to make friends with girls who actually were born and raised in Mexico, or they moved here and stuff, because that was one of my ways of embracing my background and like getting to know that part of myself more. It was by connecting with other women who were even more into that culture than I was, and learning and having these meaningful friendships and stuff. So it's okay too, like, if your social climbing goals change, or maybe your goals have to do with you embracing your background or embracing your ancestry. So that's another question you can ask yourself. What types of people do I want to socialize with? Is there a certain socioeconomic class that I want to socialize in? Do I want to have friends who are doctors and lawyers and they're wealthy? Do I want to have friends that can teach me Spanish? Do I want to have friends that can teach me Italian, or friends that are also into wine tasting and stuff? That's something you can ask yourself. Do I want to have friends who are also single? Like, do I want friends that have a certain relationship status? Am I trying to find friends who are decentered from men? Because that was another one of my goals too. I didn't want to have a bunch of friends that were like extreme pick-me's, because those women have tended to dislike me the most, because sometimes they can be like haters and stuff. So that was one of my goals too, was finding friends who they're not revolving their whole lives around a guy. So one of the social strategies that I used, just to recap, is the Bumble BFF thing. That was how I made friends in a new city. Just be careful, obviously, with all of these things that I'm doing. But also Pinterest, like making these little bucket lists for myself, because that helped me to get excited and have ideas instead of just feeling overwhelmed. Because especially if you live in a big city, you could feel overwhelmed. Like, I have no idea where to even begin. But then also following Eventbrite and stuff, and finding random free events that I could go to make friends, or for those of you who want to date or whatever, network, grow your career. Finding luncheons to go to. I used to go to finance luncheons and stuff like that so that I could network professionally. So those are some social climbing strategies you can use. You can embrace your phenotype, embrace your natural beauty. You can create almost like this social calendar for yourself. Like, okay, once a week, I'm going to go to that free yoga class at the park. I know Sarah Ann, she is the leader of the yoga class, so I'm going to make sure I get her number the third time I go. So you can create a social calendar for yourself. You can even make goals like, okay, my goal is I want to make one professional connection when I go to this luncheon. I want to meet somebody and exchange business cards with at least 5 people. Or, I want to get the phone number of this girl from the spin class so that we can like hang out and go to this other spin class. So that's another social climbing strategy you can use. Just making a goal for yourself, making a little fun, like you can make it a fun project. It's supposed to be something that's fun and something that you're attracting naturally, attracting the social status of your dreams and getting your exotical tags. But what do you ladies think? What are your social climbing goals? What type of life do you want to have socially? Do you want a friend group? Do you want some sort of guy providing for you? Do you want your children to turn out a certain way? Do you want a dog to socialize with? A pet? Do you want multiple pets to socialize with? Do you want to move closer to your family, move away from your family? What is the social life of your dreams and what does that look like? And also, if you had the pretty privilege that you really wanted, let's say you looked perfect tomorrow, how would you socialize differently? How would your life look? What would your friends look like? What would they be like? What type of social calendar would you have? Would you be going out every weekend? Would you be traveling more? Would you be able to speak multiple languages? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.